Friends and enemies, welcome back to the mighty CBP. This is episode number 163 of the weekly flagship. My dog is just rolling into the room here right on time. My name is Joey. His name is Moose. And the guy in the other panel is Len. What's going on, buddy? Great to see ya. Nice day today. Did you get outside today? Hit a few balls or what?
No. It rained a little bit this morning, which screwed up tennis. Because once you get some puddles on it, it takes a while to dry it out. So yeah, I was hoping to get out there for noon, didn't happen, and yeah, I just putted around for the rest of the day. It was really nice. It turned out to be a fantastic day.
Yeah,
but so if you look at the forecast, Friday once again calling for rain. I love it.
Steady.
So I'm helping out. If anybody wants to have a rainy Friday, I'm here to help you out because my golf continually gets canceled as a result of it. So enjoy. Your grass is going to be green. You don't have to do anything to do. Just every Friday, the rain comes. Joey, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. Hang on a sec here. My dog is walking all over my cables. I'm great. Great day at work today. Great day outside today. Went for a nice run after work for the first time in a while. I'm on the shoes with big soles train now. I bought my first pair of Hoka's a couple weeks ago from Tentoin here in Dundas for, I think they were $89. Pretty good. They were on sale. I guess they're last season's model or whatever. But man, I don't know if you tried these shoes. Once you try them, you'll never go back to regular running shoes. I guarantee it. You will never go back to regular running shoes. It's like walking on a cloud. Incredible. I'm way behind on this.
Isn't that actually a franchise walking on a cloud? I could have swore that.
Is it? I don't know. Might be. It's not a shoe. It's not a shoe company. You think it's like a store?
I think I could be wrong, but yeah.
I don't know. But I will say that pair of Hokas is really nice. Really nice. And like I've had so many dumb sports injuries over the years. Like, you know, I talk about it all the time. My Achilles, my ACL, I got like knee, hip issues from playing football and basketball. But man, running on these things, Len, there's no pain. It's unbelievable. It makes me choose.
You made me remember. Joey's Achilles is not around anymore.
I know. What happened to that account?
I don't know. It was him, your ACL. Was there a third one or no?
I've only done 2 really tough injuries. Those were the 2. So
see, those 2 accounts, they're dormant. That's good.
CBP days, right? That was like our first year, I think.
No, they were still around even last year. I'm pretty sure the Achilles was around. Yeah, he stuck around for quite a while. But he was a staple. Just like some guys in the booth will be talking about him in a little while. But Joey.
Yeah,
it's good times.
We may as well do a little housekeeping here. So last week on the show, we had 2 interviews. Rich Diaz, I did on Tuesday. I really enjoyed that interview, and I think they're rich. I'm a Looney Hour fan. I know you've listened to Looney Hour, I think, but you don't listen regularly. And I know a lot of people listen to the show are in the same boat. I'll say this, okay? Rich is a guy who, like he mentions on the show, and like you guys know if you listen to Looney Hour, is part of a 3-man weave on his own show. And so unlike Len and I, where we really do get to flesh out our ideas and, you know, get everything that's on our chest off our chest during the hour and 45 minutes or so that we're together with you guys, Rich doesn't get to do the same thing. It was a pleasure hearing him talk about some of the Canadian economic history, some of the things that he think landed us in the hot water we're in today, how to get out of that. And, you know, I did want to talk to him a bit about narrative control, because it's something that they touch on sort of tangentially on their podcast, but they don't often get too deep into it. And you and I do, and Rich and I did for the last 15 or so minutes of the show. It was excellent. And I'm happy to say that he enjoyed himself so much, Len, that he wants to get a beer in Montreal with me on Friday next week. So I'm going to go meet him Friday afternoon for a pop. I'll probably bring my wife too. She'll be with me that weekend. So
it's next weekend. No, it's this week. It's this week
coming up. Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, I'm totally forgot. Yeah, it's a very, very busy week for a lot of Bitcoiners in Canada. Yeah. I even wrote about it.
And then you had fundamentals from Rock Paper Bitcoin on Wednesday. That was a good show too. He's got quite a story. I didn't realize his background was so, I don't know if deep's the right word, but he's you know, seen some things. He's done some things in a number of different silos, and now doing a podcast like you and I. That was a good show too. I enjoyed that one.
They release their show every Thursday morning. Oh, it's every 2 Thursday mornings.
So it's twice a month.
Yeah. So that was
this week. Who do we have this week for the interview?
Zack Bomer. He's the guy behind. If you want to have your S19 powered by 120 volts, he's the guy that created those boards, those low key boards, and awesome. He's an electrical engineer by trade, I believe. And yeah, so I just confirmed that he is indeed coming on. So fingers are crossed. Last time he had to bail out kind of last moment because his wife had a baby and it was just sleep pattern was screwed up.
Wow.
But he's it's several months later, so hopefully all is good. And yeah, I really want to chat with him. He's a really bright guy, and I really want to talk a lot about these low keyboards.
Amazing. Speaking of wives having kids, my wife is pregnant, and somebody mentioned it in the chat last week. I am dying to know how that person, I think it was during the Rich Diaz episode, was able to pin that down so quickly. If you want to reach out to me and DM me and tell me if you like go to my gym, are you my ultrasound tech? Like, are you fucking hanging out at the restaurants that I'm going to? Like, if I would love to know how you knew, number one, and number two, obviously we're very excited. I can't wait. The little peanut is, I think, due sometime in November, middle of November. It's hard to predict the date at this point, right? I can't imagine that they have like an exact science for that. Do they? You don't know.
As you get closer to the date, then they kind of accelerate things or they let things be. So I mean, it's going to be around November, give or take, right?
Yeah.
It'll be, within a 3 weeks
exactly
period, I'm guessing. Yeah.
And you guys will have the pleasure of meeting Kenzie if you come to the Plate after party. I don't know how long she'll stay. She's pretty tired these days. This is like month 3.5. So yeah. Anyway, lots can still happen. So I don't want to count on my chickens, but yeah, exciting all the same.
Yeah, you're reminding me when Daniela was pregnant, she was obviously very tired. And during that time, we had a membership, tennis membership at a place in Northeast Oakville. I don't want to name the place. And we used to play every Friday night, 10 o'clock from 10 to 11. And the guy that worked there, he did not give a shit about that place. He was just so he stayed there till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, but he let us play. We paid for 1 hour, and we played always till like 1:30, 2 o'clock, and we were just fucking exhausted.
Can I just tell you that you have like the weirdest sleep schedule of any person I've ever met? Anyone I've ever met, you got the weirdest sleep schedule. I don't even think it's that close, honestly.
No, my sleep schedule is pretty good. It's pretty standard. It's just when you throw something in there, it's going to fuck it up. But if you take that out of the equation, I go to bed like 10:30-ish.
Do you?
Yeah, but that's why I tend to default 11 o'clock. I tend to fall asleep, and I wake up 5-ish, 5:30 maybe.
Jeez.
And yeah.
So much.
I'm just used to that. I mean, I'm used to the early rise, and I can't get out of that. I'm stuck in that.
Should we get to the sponsors? We're a little late here for sponsors.
Fuck yeah, let's do it, man.
EDNS, Mark and team, you guys know him, you love him. Your friendly neighborhood registrar, as he puts it. I mean, you can't beat what EDNS has going on. I mean, I don't know that much about like domain hosting and stuff, but all that means to me as someone who hadn't done it before and gone through the process and, built a website and maintained a website, all that meant to me is that it's going to be hard. It's been anything but. We go to Mark when we have problems with the website that we want to change the way something is formatted. We want to change the way something looks or feels or whatever. We go through the website and do that with him. They have everything there, Len. They got virtual private server stuff. So if you want to do Bitcoin nodes, Nostr relays, you guys hear me talk about the list every week. You can get all that stuff done there. Super easy, super cheap, super fast, and with great support. On top of that, if you want to port over a domain you already own, let's say you've been hoarding domains like many Bitcoiners are, then you can do that. Mark will help you do that. If you want to port over, I don't know, some email stuff, he'll help you do that. If you want to set up a new email thing, he'll help you do that. No matter what it is, he will help you do it. And he's helped us do it now for, I don't know how long, more than a year, I think we've been with Mark. So yeah, it's been a great relationship. And man, let me tell you, if you want to do all that stuff on the cheap, CBP Media is the code, or just tell them we sent you, go sign up. Your first round of stuff is 50% off. 50%. In this economy, Len, that's a lot of money. You got to save those coins, baby. You can't be spending money on domain names.
And what you save, you could spend on Bull Bitcoin. You could start buying a little bit more Bitcoin as a result. So Bull Bitcoin, you could buy on chain, you could sell on chain. You could buy with Lightning, you could sell with Lightning. Lots of different options, but to be honest, the fees right now are still very cheap. They're competitive. So using Lightning right now, my opinion, I wouldn't use it. I'd still use the on-chain method, but that's just my opinion. But either way, Bull has you covered. You could also pay your bills with Bitcoin. So if you have a hydro bill, phone bill, whatever the heck you want to pay, you could use that. Use your Bitcoin to pay that. Also, you could use Bitcoin to buy gift cards, and you can spend that in the real world. So a lot of different options with Bull Bitcoin, and a lot of people are using it. We passed a very significant milestone with them just this week, and I'm very thankful for everybody that have used our promo code. Also, they just released something called Stack and Track, Joey. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but this is going to be a more seamless way of having money end up in your Bull Bitcoin account. By using the Stack and Track, you essentially use the pay a bill at your bank.
Exactly.
And then it just goes to your Bull Bitcoin account and goes from there. So it's going to make it much more seamless in order to have money transferred.
Less emotional, right? Less emotional.
So there's, lots of different options here. You could do it easily. And if you use our promo code below, it's in the description, the show notes, and you fund your account, $21 is going to be added to your account. No questions asked, but that's after you provide the necessary information in order to get that $21.
Outstanding. I might try that out just to see how it works. I'm a big fan. I know you're not necessarily a fan of the pull relationship, because I think we've talked about this in the past. Like, you don't want to have a pull relationship with your exchange. So it is. That's what I was about to say. I think this actually is more of a push relationship. It maybe feels like a pull at first glance, but it's a good way to do this without having someone able to pull money from your bank account anytime, right? You set them up as a payee, and then you do it on the schedule you want. I really like this. I think I might use it. I do e-transfer anyway, honestly, but I wouldn't mind having like a steady kind of monthly dollar cost average. My dog is in here again going crazy. Anyway, Boost, shall we?
Yeah, so Doom Damasm, he sent us 3 times, 521 sats, and each time he said the same thing: "Thank you for your time." That's all he writes. He says the same thing every time.
You're welcome. You're welcome for my time.
You're very welcome. Joe Ronan, 1,000 sats. He writes in: CBP, friends and enemies, sending a small boost to let you know I value your content. Every week, I look forward to your shows. Thank you for the alpha signal. And he writes, don't be a cuck. I agree. The ruler's broken. 1,000 sats. Thank you very much for sending the sats. I'm honored and grateful to be in a community with men like Len and Fundamentals, guys that are here to fix money, not make it. Then they fight you stage is going to get rough, and we're lucky to have guys like this on our side. And I'm lucky to be able to call these guys friends. We got this. Absolutely, we do. We do have this. Stick with it and just continue the focus on the signal, not the noise. There's lots of noise, but there's a heck of a lot of signal too. Thank you for this. The sats. Ghost Sadrich. Hope I pronounced that name correctly.
New entrant here, I think, right?
Sadric?
New entrant? Gotta be. I haven't seen this name before, have you?
Yeah, I've never seen it before. But anyways, 2,112 sats. He says, got to watch this live. Great work, gents. And he's talking about my rip with Fundamentals. So he's
very good. That's a palindrome boost, by the way. 2112. We like those here.
It is. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. Fundamentals. He boosted 21,000 sats. Thank you very much. He said, had an amazing time. Thanks, Len. It's bullish to know you, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Just want to note that everybody that sent in sats today and even the previous few weeks, months, I've just been sitting on this waiting to donate it to worthy cause. So I'm sitting on, I guess, close to 100,000 sats right now.
Nice.
Plus around 100 Canadian dollars that I'm going to send over because somebody did us a solid not too long ago, and I'm going to do it on that person's behalf. So there's going to be, whenever we'll find a cause very soon, Joey, and then we'll just donate it all. But everybody, thank you for the boost because we'll be donating that to a worthy cause.
Consider telling us the cause too. Like, if you have a cause in mind. We've done, I think over the years, we've done like Madex most recently. I think we've done Open Sats. We did Wayside House. What else have we done? We've done a bunch, but there's got to be something. We gave some to Julian. That's right. Kinetic Fine. Not Julian, but Liv in the Peruvian initiative there. What other things are there? Tell us something. If you guys know something and you want to put a cause on, like
Premier Bitcoin, I think we did.
We did meet Premier Bitcoin. Yeah. Thanks to Jaime. He turned us on to that.
I don't know what can't think of anything else, but really it's just the past
Samurai legal fees I see in the chat. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how much I want to wear that at the moment, but yeah, there's a lot of causes out there that are not as gray. Like there's some good ones, for devs and for open source. Like I think we talked about giving to Craig Raw and Sparrow once, but we didn't because maybe he doesn't take donations like that.
I was going to do Huddle Knot. That's one I wanted to do.
That one we wanted to. He wouldn't take those either.
Yeah, he didn't want to take anything.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. We got to think about it. But we're always open to suggestions. So if you guys have something and you get your ear to the ground a little bit, then let's do it. Let's figure it out.
Well, let's go into the Bitcoin stories. Unless you have any last items on your checklist you want to check off.
No.
Well, you know what? See your schedule. What's going on this weekend?
Sure. Yeah. So we're gonna get there Thursday. Thursday, I probably won't do much. We're gonna go see some friends. I think
this is the Canadian Bitcoin conference for people
in Montreal. Yeah, we're gonna land there Thursday. I have 3 podcasts planned. I have 1 open slot if somebody wants to do a show, but doesn't.
What time and day are you thinking?
I'll tell you right now. So I have it in my notes app here. Let me pull it up. I offered 4 slots. So Friday at 2 p.m., Madex is going to come to my hotel room. Friday at 3:30, nothing right now. But I would put somebody Friday at 3:30 if you wanted to record. Saturday, David St. Onge is making his debut. And then 3:30 on Saturday after David is Carlo Campisi of ShakePay with the professor from U of T who's done the psychology stuff to do with Bitcoin. He'll be on stage with Carlo actually. So I'm gonna press Carlo a little bit on this ShakePay policy thing because obviously he's a friend of ours. Like we know him and I like Carlo a lot, and I know he'll be a good sport. But I'd be curious to hear what he thinks about some of the stuff that's been going on with Canadian policy.
There you go.
Yeah. Friday night is the plate licking party as well. So people in the chat asking about that. Just hit plate licker. I see Grace 2 in the chat. Grace 2, I still want to know how you knew my wife was pregnant. I gotta find that out. I gotta find out who you are. I might put a bounty on it actually. So that party is in the evening. So you do have time. I know like Plate probably did this on purpose. You do have time if you want to go for dinner somewhere or you want to see the city a little bit, lots of time. I think his jam starts at like 8:00 at a pub on St. Paul Street, I believe. So yeah. And that's, downtown Montreal too, for people who haven't been, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of different spots you can go to. And if you don't want the party to stop at 2:00, let me know and I'll make a couple recommendations for you. And who knows, maybe I'll turn it up to 11 on Friday night or Saturday night if the mood hits me. So anyway, looking forward to seeing all you guys, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Montreal's a great city. I'm really excited for the conference. And I'm on the panel. I'm on a panel Friday at 12:30 with Madex and Francis on the main stage, which is gonna be awesome. Those guys are fucking animals. So that's gonna be great. I might not say anything the whole time, but I'm gonna be up there. That's fine.
Try not to get us canceled.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I'm looking forward to it. They're great.
Anything else you want to?
No, we're good. That's it.
All right, so we'll go right to the Bitcoin stuff. There's actually quite a few things I want to talk about today.
Big week.
A 2-hour show. For much to your chagrin, Joey. But the question I really want to ask is, how early are we, Joey? And the question comes up so often because I think about it. What is left in terms of the amount of capital that's going to flow into Bitcoin? How many more people still have to fucking get it? And the answer hit me this past week, how early we fucking are, is because if you look at the graduates of Ohio State University.
They're not graduates. That's commencement speech.
My bad. Either way, it's just, it goes to show you that the people over there, they just don't fucking understand Bitcoin. And they do not understand the potential over here that can be used to lock away wealth and secure it in a way that won't be debased in the future, like fiat does and so many other things do. But anyways, this speaker, Chris Pan is his name. He is a social entrepreneur and a self-described Bitcoin advocate. I've never heard of Chris Pan before.
He's not our best guy.
But he wasn't the greatest orator. But anyways, he was doing his level best, and I got to give him kudos for that. But he was on hand at Ohio State, and he was giving a speech over there. And this is according to Normie News, that the speech veered off course. And typically these speeches, they're about there trying to give some advice about the road ahead and all this shit. But he decided to go deep into Bitcoin and the potential that Bitcoin has as a financial tool, and the potential wealth that you could unlock by using it. And there's a bunch of people over there. Let's be honest, they're probably going to be students in the future that are going to have their loans forgiven, so they truly don't understand what the fuck's going on. But as soon as he started talking about Bitcoin and the role in combating inflation, the crowd erupted in boos. I don't understand. Give this guy a chance. Listen to what the message is. Read about it and fucking make a decision. But clearly there's a lot of people over there that just do not fucking understand. So all this goes to show, at least me, we are fucking early, and that is part of the we are not going to make a crowd. That's fucking guaranteed, Joey.
Okay, did you listen to the whole speech?
I listened to some of it. He was talking about that there was hacks and shit like that, and now
Not
the ETFs.
not the whole Bitcoin speech.
Oh
The
no, I
whole
didn't.
commence- Okay, so I'll tell you, Len, he could have said when he got to the Bitcoin part, he honestly could have said that everyone was going to walk out of there with a Porsche, an iPad, and a gold bar, and they still would have booed him because the speech was so bad to that point that no matter what he said, he had already lost the crowd. He was up there talking about a breakup, talking about like it was like a stand-up routine gone bad. So I think the guy was right about the Bitcoin. I'm with you. You shouldn't be booing when Bitcoin gets brought up. You should be cheering people, especially that age. Like I'm sure they all get it. But they probably are just like, enough of this clown. Get this guy off the stage. Yeah, I can't listen to this guy anymore. I've had enough. Plus, it's probably pretty hot that day. It looks like it was pretty warm all outside, obviously. So, yeah, I don't know. Like to me, good story, fun clip there of the booze erupting. But I think I blame the rest of the speech more than I blame the Bitcoin part.
Who's the speechwriter? Clearly, it's not the people that you interviewed some time ago.
David Bailey did not write that speech.
I don't want to say the name because I can still smell the sulfur in the air when he was on our show.
God.
Anyways, last story I said we're so fucking nerdy, but this one may show that maybe we're not so fucking nerdy after all. Because Walmart Marketplace, I'm not sure if you saw that. This is an online marketplace that's operated by Walmart, similar to Amazon Marketplace or eBay. And this allows third-party sellers to list their products on Walmart's website. That's going to be alongside Walmart's own inventory. And obviously, this gives access to a whole bunch of Walmart customers and so forth. So there's a lot of advantages from getting listed here. But some people on Twitter were quick to point out that you could buy ASICs now from the Walmart Marketplace, which is really cool. The price might be a little high. I saw an 86 terahash S19. That is on sale for $619. Remember, that's US dollars, and we had the halving just last month. And also a BitAxe is on there for $219 US dollars. I think that's a little pricey. I could be wrong.
That's way more than what they sell it for at Decentral, I'm pretty sure.
Is it? Yeah. I thought it was maybe almost 2.5 times the price, but again, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that it's on there, Walmart is allowing this to be sold. They have every opportunity to say, no, let's stop this. This is against our terms and conditions. We don't like Bitcoin, all that shit. But no, they're not doing that. They're allowing fucking sellers to sell ASICs on their marketplace. So I look at that. That's rather encouraging. So maybe we're not truly that early after all. We're actually there's some catching up that people are doing right now. We're just watching this thing move right in front of our own eyes. So yeah, I like this story. It's rather a lot of people might just say it's rather nothing in the grand scheme of things, but I think there's something here, and I like the fact that Walmart has not shunned this. They didn't embrace it. They're just leaving it be, and that's the way it should be done.
Well, let's see how many units they sell, right? Walmart is in the business of making money. We know this. They're maybe the most successful retail chain of all time. You could say it's Amazon. You could say it's, maybe a handful of other stores could be mentioned in that same discussion, but I think they're up there for sure. To your point, they left it alone. I would say they're waiting to see how much money can be made off selling these things. Is there a market for these? The BitAxe is a great example, right? Like I know we have talked about the BitAxe before because they've been on the show. Same with Decentral. And if you look at some of these options, like, are you going to like hit a block? No, the odds are astronomically low, but you are helping to secure the network. You're learning a bit about mining, and you're doing it for a lot less and in a fashion that's a lot more family friendly, let's say, based on the noise level, than you would be for buying an S19 or an S21 Ultra or whatever, right? Like, or S19, S21 Ultra? No, that can't be. Is that the name?
No, I think it's just a standard S21. No, there is a higher end. Like there's a second model that was released in S21.
I can't remember what it is. It doesn't matter. But you know what I'm saying. And like, I look at these things, the retail facing products, and isn't it all sort of in the same vein as like the top of the funnel stuff, Len? You want to try Bitcoin mining. You want to look at some of this stuff. You just bought some Bitcoin. Maybe you want to grab a little bit of hardware. They look super cool. A lot of people hunt for gadgets online that look neat, in the background of a video or whatever, right? Speaking of which, my block clock is off. I must set a power outage here. Anyway, so I think this is great. If they take the stuff down without making a statement, then I would guess that it's just because it wasn't making money. If they make a statement and are getting on their soapbox about how it's bad for the environment or supports terrorism or whatever other nonsense they come up with, then we'll know that there was a higher up meeting, which again, Len, you can make the case that's good news for Bitcoin too, right? The Walmart C-suite talking about whether or not they should have BitAx products and S19s on their shelves, quote unquote shelves, along with their other stuff. So it's all good, man. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, we know those fucking CEOs and other executives. They probably have some miner in their fucking massive garage. Come on, they fucking understand economics as well as anybody. For sure, they're doing something. They have some exposure to Bitcoin. Maybe they're not mining, but fuck, there's no way these people don't have exposure to Bitcoin. Look, fucking today we heard about Bank of Montreal. I think it was BMO. They announced on their reporting that we
talked about these 13Fs, right? You and me talked about 13Fs months ago, beginning of the quarter. They're going to come.
Yeah, you've been on this, and you were saying, that it's going to be interesting to see once they get released and the information is known that they have exposure into Bitcoin through the ETFs, and now we have Bank of Montreal that has that. I mean, I think it's rather funny now. On a flip side, if you're a Bitcoin-related business and try getting an account with Bank of Montreal, they'll tell you to go.
Could we do it right now, you think, or no?
No,
it's not worth trying, but like, I wonder if they would take us now, given that they're holding the CTF.
No. They want exposure. They want number to go up. They want to be protected from themselves. They just don't want customers that deal with it. I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, based on the way that we were treated, but it sucks. But either way, I want to talk about El Salvador really quickly. Just a very brief tidbit I had here about
one other bank that declared they held the ETF. By the way, UBS, huge Swiss bank. So yeah,
there's going to be so many more.
They're going to keep coming. They have till the end of the quarter, so lots of time. But there's going to be more.
And I think I've mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago that there were several smaller U.S. banks. Announced or released information to show that they have exposure. So yeah, it's not going to be uncommon for anything out there to have some exposure to Bitcoin through an ETF. It's too bad it's through an ETF, but it's a topic for another time. El Salvador, they have a new website. I'm not sure if you saw this news or even went to their website, but it shows off their Bitcoin reserves, and the address is bitcoin.gov.sv. So if you go to that, it kind of mimics
bitcoin.gov.sv.
Yeah, it kind of mimics the.
I don't see it. It doesn't come up.
Oh, really? I'll put it in the chat. Maybe you can just copy and paste that guy, and it kind of looks like mempool.
Yeah,
it's working for me, and it shows you if you go to the balance history, you can see like per day how much Bitcoin they have. They've been stacking 1 Bitcoin per day. They continually do this for how long? I don't fucking know. But given today's price, it looks like they have about $360 million worth of Bitcoin in the reserves. So this is like a really cool initiative on their part. Remember, they repatriated their Bitcoin. It was, I guess, held by Coinbase or who the fuck held it. It wasn't El Salvador, but they managed to set up their own in-house reliable,
and
they could keep everything.
So good. This looks
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so it goes to show you, like, they are like, they like Bitcoin. They want to talk about Bitcoin. They want to showcase it as much as possible. But not only that, they're still buying 1 Bitcoin a day. I don't know how they're getting this cash, but they're doing it. And I don't know. There's nothing else I have to say about this, but it's a really cool initiative, and it's going to be inevitable. There's going to be a copy and paste type thing in the future where another country follows exactly what El Salvador has done. Is it a raging success? I would say, if anything, it's closer to a raging success than being neutral.
For sure.
In my opinion. It's definitely not a failure. But
no, you can't make that. I was trying to make that case for the first 6 or 8 months of this, initiative, and
price has gone up tremendously though. Since
they've crushed the bond market has responded. Sort of global media coverage has responded. So they have about $360 million worth of Bitcoin. Not bad. 5,750 almost Bitcoin, which is fantastic. This is a great. I mean, you can't argue with the results, right? That's what we were about in Bitcoin. Tell me what you're doing and show me your wins. And this is clearly a win for them. So I'm not surprised to see this website pop up and be something people visit. As far as other countries mimicking the playbook, some talk today about Japan maybe doing it. I have to look into that. I have to look into that a bit. Dylan LeClaire put out a tweet. I don't know if he wrote the text attached or not, but basically outlining how Japan could do a speculative attack and buy Bitcoin. I have to look at it. I could be completely wrong. I just kind of, if I'm being honest, I was like, pinching a loaf and saw it. So, but like if that's the case, again, we talked about this before. Everyone can see what's happening. I think the only thing people really disagree on is the speed at which fiat is headed to zero and how that road looks. What does the line from here to fiat zero look like? Can I cash in, or can I, if I'm at the trough during that session, can I really get rich and get fat on this? Feather my nest. Those are the only people only disagree about the details. They don't disagree about the outcome, I don't think. And to see Japan, who already, by the way, is like very much involved in their currency in a way that no other country is involved in their currency. No other country has ever been involved in their currency. I wouldn't put it past them. They don't have any reason not to buy some Bitcoin. Don't forget, central banks buy gold all the time. They're buying it with their own currency. So it's not like they don't carry out speculative attacks already. We just don't call it that. You got these old heads on FinTwit saying, oh, they're buying to counteract inflation, or they want some sound money in the treasury or whatever. At some point, they're going to start doing this with Bitcoin if they haven't already. And it's not going to be anything new because the program exists already for gold. It's just a matter of where you think the sound money is. And we think that this is going to happen over the next, 5, 10, 12 years. I don't know, something like that. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
And like you mentioned, it may have already been taking place because there are a number of countries out there that are not forthcoming with information with either their citizens or even on a global scale. So whatever they do, they could do in secrecy almost. And so if they are buying, they don't have to disclose that. And if, since Bitcoin, unless you identify who it is that's buying and you tied to an address that's tied to your name, you have no clue.
Yeah.
Who's buying it and where it's being stored, or where it's being stored. You can have an idea, but really, like, anybody could be doing this. Any country could be doing this, and we just have no clue. Who was it? We talked about, was it Nepal?
Yeah, I think so.
Bhutan.
The Kingdom of Bhutan.
Yeah, so they're mining Bitcoin, and they're going to be adding it to the reserves. So there's countries out there that are doing it, and they announced that. But how many other countries don't need to do that? I wonder.
What is the regulation around that? I mean, the ideal situation for those countries who buy would be to not announce, right? It wouldn't be like, how do we announce, or how do we share this news? Do we share it in part? The ideal situation would be you wouldn't announce, because especially if you're a bigger country, like let's say you're a G20 or, you're a top 50 economy even, and you start buying Bitcoin, like you'll move the price, and you don't want to move the price if you're acquiring. So again, like we've talked about game theory so many times on this show, and everyone talks about this on Twitter. There's, a space about this every day, it feels like. But the idea that a country will buy in size and you will know about it is like the likelihood is zero, basically. Short of chain analysis and people looking at, wow, these addresses are buying in size every day. We don't know who this person is. Like maybe it's country, but you don't know, and they're trying to make sure you don't know, because that's the kind of thing that can, the pieces on the board move when something like that gets announced or uncovered or unveiled, and they don't want that. And it makes executing the strategy more difficult for sure. So anyway, that's all I'll say about that.
If they hide it, they don't have to announce it until they're forced to. Doing that way,
until Joe Biden says that capital gains, that you unrealized capital gains that you accrued in Nepal are now taxable in the U.S., then they'll have to.
Yeah, then you're forced.
Then one of those 6,000 new IRS agents with guns will come over on a boat, start shooting the place up.
It's a landlocked country.
Crazy, right? Like these people are all, anyway, whatever, insane.
So yeah, no, if they are buying even small amounts, like comparatively to their GDP, for instance, it's going to be easier to hide.
Yeah.
And if things go poorly because they didn't announce, they can just kind of just sweep it under the rug. But if things go really well, the price of Bitcoin goes astronomical, then they can say, yeah, we've been buying, and look at us, we made a great move. So it's just I would just imagine that is being done right now in a few countries. But
Boomer in the chat saying the Middle East, right? Forget gold, Habibi, buy Bitcoin. Maybe that's
both. Yeah, they have stuff that they could trade.
They got yellow gold, they got black gold. Pretty soon they'll have digital gold too, and that wouldn't surprise me at all.
But one place I don't think they're buying it is in Vancouver, because this guy named Mike Kitt, he was showing off this new KYC free option available for Canadians, because what he's done is, he did this on Twitter, Mike Kitt did. It's what he calls Canada's first Bitcoin ATM, which uses Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
So you could use Lightning to buy your Bitcoin. And from what I believe, this is KYC free based on the video that he posted, because he wasn't asking for his information aside from the QR code for his Lightning wallet. Anyways, 2% fees on Lightning transactions up until May 31st. I don't know if there's any on-chain transactions allowed for this, from what I could tell, but there is Lightning, so it is there. And this is located for people out there. I'd love to hear your experience with this. So anybody in the Vancouver area, check it out. It's called Time Out Cafe in Vancouver, 1150 Melville Street. If you could go there, I'd love to hear how this thing works. And it just sounds like a really cool idea. Heard this guy's for the grapevine. This is just alleged. This is a shitcoiner, but I can't confirm it. So I'll just leave it at that.
There's for sure people listening to the show who are from Vancouver that we've spoken to. So who do we talk to? Yeah, Boomer in the chat. Let's get Mike Campbell out there to test it out. Mike Campbell does live in the Vancouver area. I won't say where, but yeah, it's isn't that cool? Like, this stuff is popping up more and more. And again, I don't know if I'm in like the ossify now camp for Bitcoin, but you got to think that, like I've said many times, the other side of the equation is just going to keep pushing people to our side. And whether it's printing or policy or whatever, the likelihood that people just ignore Bitcoin for another year or 2 years, it's just not very high. It's just not very high, you know. And so more of these things popping up there, and you put the address in the chat for people. Time Out Cafe, go test it. Let us know how it is. I want to know how it works too.
Yeah, Paulie said he's in the Vancouver area, so that's why I'm just posting it there. If
Get in there,
check
Paulie.
it out.
Get in there.
May 31st, it's going to be 2% fees, so it's reasonable. I think it's KYC free, so don't.
Even if it's not, it's still cool.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I just don't want people to go there and say, yeah, Len said it was KYC free, so, and they're just expecting that. I believe it is. I'm just going based on the video I've seen. So check it out. I just love to get some feedback on this to see what it's like. And yeah, let's build this thing out. Let's make a lot more options available for people. This is really cool stuff. Bitcoin halving. We had that, what, a month ago? Less than a month ago? I can't even remember.
April 19th. So more than a month, but not by much.
No, less. 13th today. Man, it seems
less than a month. Sorry, but not by much.
Seemed like much longer ago. Anyways, we're getting some reactions from miners out there. So people mining Bitcoin, they're finding that it's getting too difficult, and the mining difficulty as a result dropped this past week 5.62%. And this is the largest drop we experienced this year. So it goes to show you that since the halving, there seems to be a lot of equipment that is coming offline. In fact, it's being reported on Twitter that the overall hash rate for Bitcoin is down 35% from the peak earlier this year. And from what I could tell, the same thing transpired back in May 2020, when the hash rate dropped after the 2020 halving. There was the drop in the hash rate because the halving took place. But either way, there's other variables that took place in May 2020. Remember, we had the closure of the economy, supply chain issues, shit like that, right? Those 2020 numbers, you could digest them, but take them with a grain of salt. But what we're experiencing now is that miners, they'll have to continually upgrade their equipment, their suite of machines, in order to maintain profitability, or at least get close to profitability. Not only that, they have to seek out even cheaper electricity costs if that's an availability for them. So it's getting more challenging for miners. The transaction fees are low, very low right now. So they're relying just on the 3.12, whatever the heck it is, Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Not much in the grand scheme of things. So miners, they're going to be suffering a lot of hardship in the next little while. The ones that are positioned right, they're the ones that are going to obviously be doing well. The ones that were on the fringe before, they're fucked moving forward. Absolutely fucked. I guess they were banking on the price of Bitcoin to 2x, 3x, or whatever. It hasn't. It's just been pretty steady for the past month or so, month and a half. But either way, it just goes to show you that there's a lot of equipment being unplugged. And yeah, that's just a nature of what happens after halving.
I don't know if the TradingView hash rate chart is accurate, but It's from into the block, so it must be accurate. This recent drop, like if I look at the sort of recent ups and downs of hash rate, which by the way you would expect, hash rate should oscillate like this, and not just go up in a straight line. But this is not even that big a drop. Like if I look back at Thursday, the 11th of January this year, hash rate was 633 mega something. No, that can't be
Exahash
right.
per
Yeah,
second.
it's got to be. It's got M here as the measurement, but it can't be M. Anyway, so unless it's, well, whatever it is. Anyway, 633 exahash, let's say. And by the 15th, the Monday, it was down at 420 exahash. So like when I look at this, what do I see? I see huge drops all along the way here. You mentioned one in April 2020. There's been others that are, more significant than the one we're seeing now from the all-time high. Are people worried about this? I haven't seen any, like one of the things I've noticed in the last little while when I watch traditional financial news or like read traditional financial news, all the people who are coming into Bitcoin for the first time, they're getting the same question, right? What will make you think that Bitcoin is not, like, it's not going to work? And everyone's the same thing, less wallets, less hash rate. Those are the two indicators I hear the most often. But to me, like, I think you expect less hash rate around to having. And so I'm now waiting to see these articles from traditional financial outlets say, look, hash rate's falling, Bitcoin's failing, the SEC governance is causing problems, people's confidence is wavering. Everyone's conviction is waning now, thanks to, Gary and the boys, Elizabeth Warren, anti-crypto, whatever, right? But I haven't seen it. So maybe it's just in the tank, maybe it's in the queue, it's in the hopper for a lot of these publications. But to me, Lan, like, I mean, you're not worried about this. I'm not worried about this, but it does provide a little bit of fodder for TradFi publications to say, look, Bitcoin's not working, blah, blah, blah. But anyone who can look at a chart and, again, like if you look at this chart just directionally, I mean, it's like about as up and to the right as you're going to get. If you just take the moving average line instead of the, weekly data points, it's pretty good. You like the way this chart looks.
I'm not at all concerned about this. This I suspect. Let's be honest. I don't think I predicted this, but now after seeing what happened after the halving, I'm not shocked by the reality of the hash rate going down a little bit since the peak in April.
Not that big a deal, like
no, it really isn't. And even if it goes down significantly, it's still
you selling. You're gonna. I'm gonna come here on Monday night one night, and you're not gonna show up for the other panel. Just me, only me. I'll throw Moose in the chair. I'll run a second camera.
Do you want to do that one day? You want to do the dog in replace?
If you put your dog over on your panel, I'll put my dog over on my panel.
She'll bark like crazy. She's an absolute annoying. Anyways, Argentina. We don't talk too much about Argentina.
Only bad stuff. Only bad stuff.
No. We don't talk about. I don't know. Melee. I'm going to tangent here. How many people in Bitcoin Twitter absolutely they adored him?
Oh, everybody. They deified him. Everybody did. Yeah.
I'm sure. For sure, I didn't.
How's that going so far? I would say you probably feel like a fucking moron right about now, don't you? If you didn't feel like a fucking moron when they let him speak at Davos, then you sure as shit should feel like a fucking moron by now. Because if he was really upending the system, he wouldn't be, shoulder to shoulder with Bill Gates and the boys trying to solve all the world's problems that no one's asking for a solution to.
That's a good point. Like, why would they give him a panel to just trash everything? I don't know. That's a question I asked immediately afterwards. But then again, somebody said because he's part of the G20 countries, having him be excluded would show some, it would be a sign of weakness. So they were forced to. I don't know if that's true or not, but either way, Argentina.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're teaming up with Genesis Digital Assets, and they're going to be doing this for mining Bitcoin in Argentina. And this is all according to a Forbes article. And they're going to be mining for Bitcoin using stranded gas. And this is one of the greatest arguments I have in favor of Bitcoin mining, using up stranded energy and using that and monetizing the fuck out of it, right? Like, it just makes so much sense. So Genesis Digital Assets, they're teaming up with a subsidiary of the largest electric company from Argentina to make this all happen. So they're teaming up with, a big boy in that field. This is going to be at the Bajo del Toro.
Did you just roll that R?
Toro, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Keep it PG here. People getting fired up here hearing you roll the R's. Chat's Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
This is the thermal power plant, and they will power 1,200 ASICs to monetize the stranded gas that would otherwise be flared into the atmosphere. So not like they were even doing, using it in any way. They were just simply fucking just flaring it. That's good that they're doing this. Anyways, I did the quick Len math here. I could be wrong, but I think 1,200 Bitcoin mining machines equates to 0.1 exahash per second if we're talking about the 100 terahash S19. I could be wrong, but correct me if I am. Anyways, Argentina looking to monetize their stranded gas, and they're using GDA as a way to do this. Argentina has been mining for Bitcoin on a much smaller scale up until now, but it looks like they're opening doors to do it on a bigger scale. So I like this, but given what's going on over there, I'm wondering how much longer before this gets nationalized. And I don't know. It just seems to be like a very touchy situation which is going on in Argentina, but I could be wrong.
Those are Davos coins, buddy. they're not long for this world. I don't trust anything about that guy. You can't trust anybody with a wig that bad, honestly, who's not named Paul Stanley. If your name's not Paul Stanley, I don't expect to see you on stage in a wig that bad. But otherwise you got something not right. The internal machinery is not functioning properly on that fella. And
what
again, it's a wig for Len. Is it a wig? Oh my God. Are you kidding? The one thing conservatives need to figure out, okay, as much as I like Trump and this guy's funny at the very least, like
little Boris Johnson,
like enough with the hair. Like, can we not get somebody with a decent fucking haircut? Come on. What are we doing? We had Pence, right? Pence was like a Republican VP, Rhino, it turned out, I guess, depending on who you ask. But
so there's no Gavin Newsom equivalent on the right side.
God, used car salesman, physiognomy. Yeah. Not good. I don't like that guy. I don't like anything about this Milei guy either, honestly. And I think a lot of people were quick to worship at the altar of this fellow because he had that whiteboard video of him ripping, useless government departments off the wall.
Afuera.
They are useless, right? Afuera is the right response, but you haven't been doing a lot of other stuff that gives me a lot of comfort. Because I think he also, if I remember correctly, he was part of some controversial legislative change like a month ago. I don't remember now, but anyway, I don't follow a lot of Argentina stuff, but it's just like, man, how many times, Len, did people have to get burned by politicians? How many more times can we go through this? Eric Adams, truly like the worst of like people who try to take a paycheck in Bitcoin. Suarez is bad, but Adams is way worse. Adams now taking trips to Italy to loot the New York Treasury so he can find out. He's like talking about solving global problems. Sorry, does Italy have drug addicted vagrants shitting on themselves and pushing people onto subway tracks? Is that the problem you're trying to solve?
No,
because
they have a big problem with I don't want to get into it, but
they have an immigration issue. They have an immigration issue over there too. I know, big time. I know.
Not good. And
it's almost like I'll get into it, whatever, I'll say it. I think people are starting to realize all over the world that the immigration policies are not sustainable. And I think it's becoming a Bitcoin adjacent story because these things keep those policies keep wages low intentionally or otherwise. They prevent people from getting jobs intentionally or otherwise. And they drive GDP, which is a fake metric that's made up. So the people who claim to be data driven can say that they looked at the data before they, bought or sold a stock for you and took 2% on the in and 10% on the back end. Like, it's all just fake and made up. And these policies now, whether we like it or not, and this is not an immigration story, but immigration among other policies are Bitcoin adjacent now. Trump is on, TV talking about how he loves crypto. I don't think he knows anything about Bitcoin or crypto, quite honestly. But the fact that someone in his circle had him say it at a press gathering tells me something. These guys are thinking about this. Though. Yeah, but whatever. He's thinking about it is the point, right? Here's the question, Len. If Trump says, if Biden gets on stage and says, we're going to tax on unrealized gains on Bitcoin, Trump gets on stage and says, I won't do it, and I'm going to sell NFTs. Who are you voting for? Of course you're going to vote for the guy that says he's going to not charge you on unrealized capital gains. No one gives a fuck if he's selling NFTs. I'm not going to buy them. You're not going to buy them. I care about the policy position. And so even these guys who don't know anything, as long as they're saying the right things, they have people in their circle who understand. It seems like he does. Great. On the Biden side of things, he's got like Liz Warren, right? On this war path against Bitcoin. Gensler, same thing. This is becoming a political animal. We went through this phase where macro conditions didn't affect us. Now we are the macro condition, right? People speculating that the price of Bitcoin stopping rate hikes, rate cuts. Maybe not, but it's not out of the question. Now we're going to go through this phase where we're not political, and suddenly, bang, you're being discussed at a presidential debate or a vice presidential debate in maybe the most important election of the last 20 years.
It's causing all kinds of issues.
It's causing problems for everybody.
Solar flares as a result of Bitcoin.
100%. Everyone knows that. Israel, Palestine, Bitcoin's fault. 100%. We got all these problems. They're all according to some people, this is all Bitcoin's, problem. And like the idea that it's not going to be political, I think that ship has sailed. And anyway, this is a melee story. I don't know how the hell we got here, but
no, you were talking about Eric Adams, and then Eric
worst
Adams,
ever politician who claimed to take Bitcoin. Yeah.
So you were saying Eric Adams, you ranked him as pretty low on your totem pole. I would even argue there's somebody out there maybe challenging him for being
here we go.
number one. I don't know his name, but the guy from Central African Republic. Right? Let's be honest. The dude,
I don't know who that guy.
Actually, he's nameless. He's fucking.
They're on the gold machine gun index over there, man. Like, of course, that guy's making shit up.
But the fact that they said they're gonna take Bitcoin as legal tender, and then a few weeks, maybe a month or two later, turned around and said, "Nah, it's not gonna happen." But we have this shitcoin, this Sango coin, we're gonna be releasing. It's like he basically went to 100% shitcoin. Suarez at least did 90% shitcoin. This guy did 100% shitcoin. So that I gotta say that guy was even worse. It was basically a bait and switch type thing. He got some publicity, and people were like, "Yeah, Central African Republic is the second country in the world that's accepting Bitcoin," and it's like, no, not gonna happen. So you know what? Maybe that person is worse than Eric Adams with respect to Bitcoin.
He's up there. He's up there or down there, depending on how you want to think about it.
So anyway, nameless and faceless. I don't know who the heck that person is, but yeah, Binance. Let's talk about them. Got just a few minutes left. They're being fined in Canada, and the financial regulator, FinTrack. We talked a few times about FinTrack back through the archives, but anyways, they fined Binance a total of $4.3 million US, or around 6 million-ish Canadian, for failing to register as a foreign money services business. Also, they neglected to report nearly 6,000 transactions over $10,000. So this is a huge no-no, the second part. And because any transaction that exceeds over 10,000 in value requires some special type of reporting. And I think that this all has to do with some sort of money laundering and shit like that, but I'm not 100% sure. But either way, if you look at the fine, this I find rather interesting. The fine of 4.3 million US. Remember, the US imposed a fine of 4.3 billion. It's exactly, there's a connection here. So if you look at the number, it seems rather funny. But either way, FinTrack noted between June 1st, 2021 and July 19th, 2023. So a little bit over 2-year period of time, Binance did not comply with the laws by reporting 5,900 transactions that were bigger than $10,000. And they needed to do the know your customer shit in order to appease regulators. So they didn't do that. But I just have to say one thing. If you were a Binance customer during that time and you did one of these larger transactions and you kind of went under the radar, you might be fucked moving forward if they find out who you are. Because if Binance is able to figure this out and they provide this information to FinTrack, and FinTrack, they want to get their slice of the pie, or at least Canada, CRA wants it. Be very careful. I'm just saying right now, you could get fucked. So yeah, that's just my Binance story of the day.
Assuming that you are hiding your transactions when they are done with a service that is not like an ATM or something, is like you got a death wish. You're going to get found out, because these guys, at the end of the day, they may talk a good game, but they don't want any trouble, and they'll pay the 4 million. They'll give up the data. They'll pay the 4 billion. Buddy will go to jail for 6 months or whatever. To me, it's like it's just insane that people think Binance, and like we have friends, you and I, who are like trading like Pepe and all this other nonsense on all these different platforms, thinking it's going to be just like tax-free money. You are dreaming, and it's not about whether or not you just pay the 30% capital gain, or 50% capital gain, depending on where you land, I guess, if you really crush it. The problem is, once the door is open to auditing you, it never closes. Like you're going to have problems the rest of your life. if you go down this road. Do not do it. Pay your taxes. Don't try and obfuscate. Do the right thing as far as policy and laws are concerned. You'll be much happier in the long run than if you do the than if you do the opposite.
So Boomdust is saying that they're probably going after sells, not buys. But I will also say probably even trades. So if you're buying, say, $11,000 worth of Bitcoin, maybe they won't go after you. But if you bought that Bitcoin, then traded it for ETH and traded it for USDC and then traded it for whatever, and you kept trading, and the value of each trade was over the $10,000 threshold, if you haven't reported that, Binance, if they could get that information and report it for you, like Joey said, if they wanted to, and if they,
it's a no-brainer. They're gonna do it. Like, of course they're gonna do it. Yeah.
So this could be very challenging for a lot of people out there that tried to skirt the system, and they're gonna realize that the long arm of the law will fuck them hard.
Like, do you really think, if I think about Canada, do you really think that there's an attempt to tax, like the capital gains thing? I tweeted this like a month ago when it came out. The capital gains thing is meant to grab the real estate transfer between boomers and their kids on death, on gifting, on whatever. And if you think that the policy position is like, if you think that they're going to take that policy position and all the attacks that come with it, all the malcontent that comes with it, and then they're not going to follow up on your Binance history, like, you're dumb. You're just dumb. Of course they're going to. And they're going to do it happily. And how many times have we said this, Lennon? I remember Preston Burns said this on our show too. And he said on Twitter, many people have. The wheels of these big organizations turn slowly, but they grind everything to dust given enough time. You will wind up on the floor with those gears if you go this route, with the shit coins, with the tax evasion. You will get got. Guaranteed 100%. Everybody does. That's the way this is going to work. There's never been a time where government's been more starved for money and more willing to make an example of someone who's evading taxes. Crypto, Bitcoin, whatever, is the perfect potion for popularity. You are a target. Don't make yourself a bigger one.
It's low-hanging fruit. You're pissing off who? People that probably are, they
want your fucking money. They want your fucking money. They're pushing shopping carts around downtown, for fuck's sake, and you're walking around a millionaire thanks to Pepe Coin. You're going to pay your fair share because you can be on the news, and they'll garner support with your good name. For sure. For sure.
Let's do one last story. We're up against the hour mark. Metaplanet. Remember these guys? Do you remember them? The Web3 company.
They wanted to buy some Bitcoin or something.
They did buy some Bitcoin not too long ago. In fact, I said at the time, let's not even commit their name to memory because we'll probably not talk.
I didn't. I took the advice.
Well, you know what? I was wrong. I stand corrected because they bought some more Bitcoin this past month, I guess. So they scooped up another 20 Bitcoin, they said, and that's worth around 200 million yen.
Nice.
That was as of May 10th. The yen has gone down. It's now 156. So it's getting, it's a sliding scale where it's getting worse by the day. But either way, Metaplanet now holds around 117, almost 118 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And in terms of their market cap, that equates to about 33% of their overall market cap. So it's not like that other company out there we talked about. Remember, I forget the name of it, but it was
gold mining company.
Yes.
Is Metaplanet trading below NAV? Like, what's the company worth?
I have no idea. But Neelam Industries, I think is the name, or Neelam Resources. My mistake. That was the name of it. It's a Canadian company, by the way. That either way, Metaplanet. So they bought some more Bitcoin. They're doing the MicroStrategy approach, but not only that, they also released a white paper on their corporate strategy with respect to holding Bitcoin.
Great.
So they're out there. They're talking up a good game in terms of what they are going to be doing, what's their ideas, and how they perceive Bitcoin. So yeah, this seems to be spreading, albeit rather slow, but the other side of the planet, we have one more company out there that's buying Bitcoin. It's not just the CBP and MicroStrategy. It's now Metaplanet as well. So cool stuff.
Just looking at this white paper here. He's saying all the right things. Simon Garovich. Oh, Dylan Leclerc also wrote this. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
It must have been translated.
Dylan Leclerc is the director of Bitcoin strategy for Metaplanet. Yeah, this is good. This is good. Highly recommend it. Yeah, of course it's translated, but still.
Yeah, every time I hear Dylan LeClaire, it reminds me of Predator.
What was the other guy's name? The other Zoomer kid with the broccoli haircut. I can't remember his name. Dylan was one. Who was the other one? Someone in the chat will
Clement?
know. Will Clemente. That's right. Yeah. What are those
He
kids
came
doing
all
now?
of a sudden, eh? He
Well, I
was
mean, all these guys just came out of nowhere in 2020. Like they're all
so
bored at home smoking bowls. Then they,
Clemente, I forget is how to pronounce his name. He was one of Pomp's boys. So Pomp boosted him up.
Pomp put him on. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised you didn't. I'm surprised you're not saying that Will Clemente was a NHL 98 broadcaster, I think, in that version of the game for N64.
Was he?
Will Clemente here for, yeah, he was on the ESPN pregame show.
I didn't play the PC games too much, so
No, I was N64. I didn't have a PC for games then either, but yeah. Anyway, story for another time. It's interesting though. Like you talk about us getting this wrong. I thought that was going to be for sure a fly-by-night buy, but here they are again stacking up and now releasing a strategy. Square or Block, I should say, also released an open source strategy for corporate Bitcoin balance sheet work. I haven't read it yet, but the whole strategy that they're using, this like DCA thing, holding it, they're open sourcing all of it so anyone can follow it, which is really good.
We should do our own because the CBP have been actively stacking Bitcoin.
Here's what we do. Every month we buy Bitcoin and that's all. That's it. That's the end of the, Easy.
And if you want our Bitcoin, you go fuck right off. It's our Bitcoin.
That's it. That's the second page of the white paper.
No ETF. We get the actual thing. We put it.
We don't hold ETFs over here. No, we don't do that.
Fuck that, man.
That's not where we play.
That's right. Anyways, Joey, I think that's it for the Bitcoin related stuff. We're past the hour, slightly over. I think, yeah, it's time to transition to the notable side of things.
Let's rip it. Heading over to Notable. You guys know what to do. If you're on video, stay put. If you're on audio, we'll see you tomorrow. That's it. Take care of yourself.
And don't be a cock.
That was good. 101.51. That's perfect. Okay, let's get going here. Notable stories. Many of them.
I wish it was the previous name.
I got home from work today and I saw the thing you write every week, the wrap up, and it's like 60 points long. So there must be a number of notable stories you're interested in covering here because we didn't cover 60 of them in the first hour. So where are we gonna land
there's
here?
Lots to chat. There's so much, and I left some stories on the cutting room floor in the first hour. So either way, Joey, there's lots of stuff we got to do. We should actually sell this on our Patreon or something.
when we set it up, yeah.
It's not happening. Anyways, new home buyers in the United States looks like they may be subjected to some form of a targeted UBI because President Joe Biden was on Twitter yesterday or 2 days ago.
God,
Anyways,
what a story this is. Yeah.
I can't believe this. So he was on Twitter and he wrote that he has a housing plan. And what is this housing plan he has? Well, he's thinking about giving $400 a month to households who buy their first home. No, so not individuals, but households. So 400 given to the actual household per month. And that money will be giving out to those first-time home buyers for a period of 2 years.
Unreal.
Right? So the question initially comes up, is this good politics? Because I understand what they're trying to achieve. It's targeting a small segment of the population. We have to be honest. It's not going to be covering a lot of people. So you're going to be impacting positively a very small section of the population. Renters who don't have enough scratch out there to buy a home, well, they're going to be shut out and continue to be shut out from the marketplace. They have no access to the $400. Mm-hmm. People already owning homes, they're going to be on the outside looking in. So this type of politics is going to be just impacting a very small amount of people.
Right.
And what happens when that $400 runs dry? Because anybody who remembers what happens with the subprime some 15 years ago, those subprime mortgages, it was cheaper for a period of time until it was priced in as per the market. And then at that point, people were unable to afford their house. This won't be as drastic as a subprime because we're dealing with a very small segment of population. And
it is as dumb though. It is as dumb.
Yes, it's on par with that. And on top of that, they're probably going to be screened in at the current mortgage rates. So they're not excluding the $400. That $400 will just be extra money that's coming in. But if rates go up, or if the economy continues to tank, somebody loses their job, number of different variables comes into play here.
Mhm.
They're not going to be able to afford their home. So you already have right now 34 trillion in debt. That's what the US is right now. They're spending $1 trillion annually a year just to deal with the debt.
That's it.
This $400 a month, where's this money coming from? It's going to be more debt, right? So what happens when you pile more money into the debt? Money gets devalued. It continues to get devalued, making hard assets like homes even more expensive. And then the cycle continues. So you're just dealing with a problem by creating a bigger problem that's going to be uncovered in the
just
future.
roll it.
So
Yeah.
the selling of the future for today, I'm not a fan of it, but then again, this is targeted UBI. I can't believe they're even thinking about this thing, but hey.
How do you sell this to the UBI proponents? Like, I'd be curious to hear what Floyd Marinescu would say about this. Whether you agree or disagree with UBI, the people who buy homes are not the people who need it, right? So that's one problem I have. Other problem, Len, in terms of the means testing for this, not for the UBI itself. You mentioned how you get that you have to buy a home, but when you go to the bank and apply for a mortgage, does the bank factor in that you'll have an extra $400 per month if you buy a house? Like, does that drive the price of housing up? If it doesn't, I mean, it's still not great because, as you mentioned there, you're going to get used to spending that money. This happens all the time. Okay, no one lives below their means anymore. Unfortunately, that's how we get to this point. If it doesn't, great. But if it does get factored in before you buy the house, and that's how you can get pre-approved for whatever your offer is going to be, man, that's going to drive up the price of homes. Man, that's going to make sure that there's more scarcity. Man, that's going to make life less affordable for everybody. And again, like Biden sort of adding fuel to the fire here. Asset holders are going to benefit greatly from whatever printing event comes next. And you're just adding more fuel to that fire with stuff like this. People are going to be dying to get into homes, trying their hardest, to make sure they get that $400. I continue to ask the question. It's unpopular. Maybe it's a bit abrasive. Show me a person who needs $400 extra every month and has made decisions that put them in a place where they can't afford their life. And I'm not suggesting that everyone is in this position, but many are. These people don't make good decisions with the $400. Did we not talk about UBI? Like, even before Floyd came on. And by the way, not a shot at Floyd. I think he makes a lot of good points about a lot of the policy positions he has. I may not agree with them, but at least they're well thought out. Meanwhile, policies like this in the States, we talked about a family in Florida where the woman got UBI and took her kids on a trip and got her hair done, right? Like, these people aren't that sharp. And if you just keep giving people money when clearly they don't know what to do with it, like, at what point do you call this throwing good money after bad? The worst part about this, when you say it's good politics, these people are going to vote Democrat anyway. I don't even think it's good politics. It's not like you're getting additional votes for this money. That's the thing I would point to. I realize that it's going to be popular among your base, but they're still your base. You're not going to lose these people if you don't give them the $400. That's the thing I don't really get. I don't understand that part of the politics. So overall, I would say this is like a not great move on the part of the Biden administration. But I mean, not surprising, right? Nothing surprising about that.
I like what Boom Dust is
right. I'm not repeating that, but yeah, I like it too. It made me laugh. Yeah.
But you're right. They probably for the majority are going to be voting Democrat. I don't know. But I'm not trying to defend.
You'd imagine that though, right? Like, I think that's right.
It's just, the thing is, I'm wondering how many people it's going to turn off. Like, if you, like, as I mentioned, a renter and you just don't have it and you're not going to be able to afford it.
Yeah.
Those people, how many of them are going to look at this and say, I'm pissed off with this?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be able to get access to it. Or an existing homeowner, like, they're saying, I'm pissed off at this. I'm not going to get access to this. So you're probably going to gain a few, but how many are you going to lose at the same time? It's a net loss, I would imagine. Not only that, $400 a month, I'm not sure how many people are going to take advantage. Sorry, how many households are going to take advantage of it, but you're just adding it onto the debt. And
there'll be a bunch to take advantage of it. Like, how could they not? If you're on the cusp of buying a home and you're like, man, we could probably do it, but you have a kid on the way or some other expenses coming up and you're like, we can't. Now you're going to be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. Because you're making two assumptions, right? One, the program will continue in perpetuity. That's not a bad bet. Honestly, it's a safe bet, I think, in a lot of ways. And then the other part is that the home price will continue to appreciate. I don't think either of those are guarantees, though the first is better than the second. Again, like isn't the big problem here too that like banks ultimately are the ones who are taking this risk, and so there is no risk. Like they just get bailed out. Everything is backstopped. Like there's clearly additional moving pieces here that could cause problems, but they don't actually have to factor any of that in. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous.
You froze for a second there. Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you.
Yeah,
is they take whatever risk they want and whatever profits they gain from it, it's theirs. But if they don't do well and eventually they go tits up, it's taxpayers that are, or
yeah,
you know what? It's every US dollar user, anybody adjacent to the US dollar gets impacted by it. That's just a sad reality. But you know what? It's a good segue to the next story I have. It's a CNBC story. So this is, again, normie news, we could call it.
Mhm.
They say that 29% of households have jobs but struggle to cover basic needs, and they're one emergency away from poverty. And this is check this new term out that came up. I've never heard this term before.
Can't wait.
So it's called ALICE.
Yeah.
It's for assets limited, income constrained, employed. It's another term for lower middle class.
It's a wagey. You're a wagey.
A wagey, yeah. You're McWagey.
Yeah,
so it's another way of just saying lower middle class. You're asset limited, income constrained, and employed. But they're throwing in its ALICE as a way to.
God, can you imagine people just coming up with names for you constantly? Like I just, it's like so demeaning and degrading. But anyway, go ahead.
So they say that currently nearly 40 million families, so not individuals, 40 million families, or about 29% of the population, are defined as ALICE. That's a significant amount
29%
of the population.
Wow.
On top of this, Joey.
Wait a minute. Where is this? Here?
In the United States.
United States. Okay. Yeah.
It's 29% of the population.
Here, honestly. Yeah. Okay.
So that's ALICE. And on top of that, you have almost 38 million Americans. I'm not talking about families, but actual individuals that live in poverty. And this comprises 11.5% of the total population. So ALICE plus the people living in poverty, doing Len math, that's 40%-ish right off the bat of American people that are financially fucked.
Yeah.
That is a significant amount of the population. Now, throw in some other factors here. You have credit card debt. Right now, it's over $1 trillion. I think the number I last saw was 1.2, 1.3 trillion. But what the fuck? I'm just splitting hairs of this. So they're saying also delinquencies on payments for these credit cards are shooting up, the highest in 12 years. How much longer can this last? It's got to be the burr has to come much sooner than a lot of us anticipate, right? If you're looking at 40% are just struggling and they're not going to be able to get out, credit cards.
It's not going to be burr. It's going to be forgiveness. And so
I'm just adding that into the same fucking,
yeah.
Right?
I would too, but people who are supporting, like whichever politician does the Jubilee, everyone's going to say this is, it's not inflationary. We're not running the printer. It's not the same as debt issuance, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I guess. But anyone paying attention will notice that the price of gold goes to 4,000. Bitcoin goes to 500K, in a night when that stuff comes into play. It's crazy that like Americans, when was the last time you were in the States? Why don't I start there? When was the last time you were in the States?
Before this decade.
I'll tell you, I was there in October last year for a Skins game.
Oh,
I was in Washington, and
you went to Detroit too recently.
I went to Detroit the year before for a Skins game, and this year I went to Washington. Len, my wife and I got there a little before everyone, so we couldn't check into the hotel. So we thought, why don't we go to Walmart and get beers and food or whatever, whatever our contribution to the tailgate tomorrow.
Was this in Maryland or DC or?
It was in Maryland. No, it was in
Virginia.
It was in DC. And it was like fucking 10 minutes from the White House, like close. And so whatever, we're in Walmart there. And I said to my wife, like, everyone here looks poor. Everybody. And like people are screaming at each other. There's no like obvious order in the aisles. You see more ass cracks than full sets of teeth. You name it, like all the telltale signs. And
I
I just
gotta
think
give you
like,
just one
yeah, yeah,
stat here.
yeah,
Washington, interestingly enough, I'm talking
yeah.
about DC, has the most
High,
millionaires per capita.
highest income disparity in the world. That city, yeah, it's up there. Yeah, 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 for sure. And so like you go in that Walmart and everyone looks poor and stupid, but then every cart is full of fucking shit.
What do
Like
you mean shit?
like electronics and video games and like dumb houseware stuff and
Are they
gadgets
living
and
or is
trinkets.
stolen or like
No,
they just bought it?
they're gonna buy the shit, but like it's shit that clearly you don't need. Clearly you don't need, you know? And like when people say like, oh, what, like the US has 40% of its population under the poverty line or whatever that stat was you just gave, Alice, you know,
Alice.
whatever the
Yeah, they've been
term
Alice.
is. The thing I can't help but wonder is like, is this just a bad case of keeping up with the Joneses that's gone completely wrong over, 50 years of free debt, basically? Is that how these guys got here? And now it's just too late to turn back. They'll just spend and spend and spend because their neighbors are spending and spending and spending. But the thing is that neither the neighbor or the person catching up to the Joneses actually has the money. There are no actual Joneses in the story, but everyone thinks that they're trying to keep up. But like the whole thing is just a nightmare whirlpool of, despair and debt. That's how it seems to me over there. The times I've been,
Joey, how
I
many
don't see
people out there have
the same thing here.
How many people have high-end cell phones?
Everyone does, but cell
Do you
phones are.
need it?
I know,
You
but
can get a
like,
Moto G from
the
fucking.
point is that like the phone thing is deflationary, right? Like, yeah, the price of cell phones is going up a bit, but
it's
at
all
least the
relative.
fucking quality is going up. And they're subsidized. They're subsidized. Great example, right? Like everything is subsidized goes up in price anyway.
It's all relative. You could buy a cheap Moto G for $100 and still do exactly what you're doing with your
but you
Samsung
can't
or iPhone
post
or
on Instagram from your Moto G without people
you can
being
do the
like,
exact same thing.
So with your
It may not be
camera, your camera stinks.
It don't matter. It's still going to be like 13 megapixels, which is still like, you know what I mean? Like people just want the best. They'll pay for it, and without any thinking about what's going to happen in the future, they'll just put it on credit and fucking deal with it later.
There's a very unpopular discussion to have here that I won't have about what social supports have done to the general intelligence of the population. And until we start talking about these things, like we're just never going to solve these problems with debt. You're going to keep getting policies that give people money. They're not going to know what to do with it. And you have to give them more money. Policies that, ensure that people need to go into debt to get things done. They go into the debt, then they can't pay it. And we got to forgive it. Like I tweeted that picture the other day. That was somebody on my fucking Instagram feed. That's somebody I know. Okay. Not well enough to care what they think of me, but this idea that like this person is about to teach a class at a major American university about behavioral psychology of cats. Who the fuck is paying for that course? And even better, who the fuck is paying that person to teach it? We're done. We're done, man. We're finished. This party is over. Now you're just waiting to see when the cops break it up, but they are going to break it up. And I don't know if you've ever stayed at a party too long, Len, but the sort of people that are around when the cops come to break up a party are not the people you want to be hanging out with. Those are the people who are left at the party right now. It's not a good situation at all in the States for a lot of reasons. Some of them we can't talk about, unfortunately, but you guys get the idea, right? You keep giving people money and they keep fucking things up. You got to decide at some point whether it's worth continuing to give the money or you got to come up with a better idea. They don't seem to have one because you don't get votes with better ideas. That's another problem, another huge issue in all democracies. But we're all suffering from this.
That $400 story I just mentioned a couple of stories ago, this is a good story that's going to piggyback off that. It's about U.S. renters data. And so it's time, Joey, you and I open up the terminal. We haven't opened up our terminal for some time.
Where's SB? We got to get SB over here.
Because this is actually a story from Bloomberg. So they say, Bloomberg says that rent in most major U.S. metropolitan areas have risen some 1.5% faster than wages in the last 4 years. Am I gone or am I still there?
You're still there.
Okay. It was blank on my screen. Anyways, so yeah, the rent has increased 1.5% faster than wages over the last 4 years. And this is from a Zillow Group study from 2019 to 2003. So income rose some 20% on average, but the rent is up 30% over the same period of time. So you're falling behind. the rent is
A little
going
more
much
every
higher.
year, right? A little more every year. Yeah.
This is just an average too, by the way, of over the nation, because there are hot spots in the US like Tampa and Jacksonville, for instance, where
Mhm.
the difference is much, much greater. And the rental housing costs have outpaced salaries in all but 6 of the top 50 metros.
That's insane.
San Francisco is one of those 6, by the way. I guess nobody really wants to live with homelessness and crime and people shitting
Strange
on it.
landmine fields. Yeah, I guess not.
But hey, it's I guess that's good news for people who are renting. You get a good deal out there. So yeah, it just goes to show you, like, rent. It's not you're paying way more than what you're collecting in. When they say inflation is this number, well, the reality it's much higher. Your wages are not keeping up with that. You're just falling further behind. These people that are renting, they're going to be continually renting for a long time. They're not going to get access to that at $400. Just fucked all over. I feel bad for them.
What can you say? I don't know. I don't know what to say to people who are renting. There's no fix for any of this. Like, you know, especially if you voted for some of these politicians and policies, like how many, you know, terms has Pelosi done in California? What's the number? 10, 12? I don't know. It's like been like 40 fucking years. You want to keep putting her in there? Fine. You know, you're going to have these problems.
Her husband's fighting off people with hammers, though. He's doing a good.
He's busy. He's been busy, that guy. He's been busy. Yeah, fighting off
Did they
people
end
with
up getting
hammer.
to the bottom of that case?
Do you want to really get to the bottom of that, or would you prefer not to know the details?
I don't want to know what happened in the
Like
home, but
in
like
his
I'd love to
underwear
know
with
if
a hammer in the middle of the night, like the police get there and like
pants were worn.
like, come on. I just don't, you know, whatever. It's fine. We probably just lost our monetization anyway. But yeah, I mean, what do you say to renters? How do you say to a renter, just keep renting, things will get better? How do you say to a renter, you know, especially here in Canada, I know this is an American story, but you're seeing the media here clearly carrying water for the powers that be. And it's not necessarily just government, by the way. I think it's, you know, corporate powers as well. Carrying water with stories like, you know, maybe owning a house isn't that great a thing. Like,
It's simple.
of course, it's a
You
great
just
thing.
tell
Like,
them that the local blackouts are not going to take into effect this coming
oh
NFL
my
season,
God, I
and that
know.
way
I
people
know,
are
bread
happy.
and circuses. Yeah, yeah, something to that, right? But yeah, it's bad, man. Like the messaging is clearly shifted here as people as everyone sort of realizes that if you're renting, you're never going to be able to own a home now, right? I don't think, certainly not in any like major Canadian
No.
metropolitan area, but like the States is just as bad. People often hear talking about how our wages have split from the cost of homes so significantly since the 80s. But like it's happening everywhere, maybe not quite at the same pace or the same with the same inertia, but it's definitely happening everywhere. More and more people are waking up to this and they're going, hey, wait a minute. Like I thought if I saved, I'd be able to buy a house. Like actually it turns out that every time you save a dollar and don't invest it in real estate, you're losing money. Like how's that? That's tough. That's how you get to a place by there where people don't want to work and become apathetic. And you know, apathy is the greatest enemy of a functional democracy for a number of reasons. But you know, clearly creeping up here, you can see it on the horizon being a problem.
There's a story, Joey, that just it's screaming to be talked about.
Well, you're in charge of the story, so
Might as well talk about this one. It's a Fox News story, by the way,
All right.
and it's talking about San Francisco because we just mentioned San Francisco. Might as well talk about them. The city is buying vodka shots for homeless alcoholics, and this is all part of a taxpayer funded
Stop.
program.
This can't be a real story. Come on.
I did some digging here, Joey. It's free beer and vodka shots for homeless alcoholics. I kid you not. It's called the Managed Alcohol Program.
The map.
Check it out. This is
Okay.
a pilot program designed to help people with severe alcohol use disorder, AUD. And it's a harm reduction approach that aims to improve the health.
I hate harm reduction. This show is decidedly anti-harm reduction. I don't know. I'm speaking for you too, Len. We are decidedly anti-harm reduction on this program.
Well, they're trying to do this and reduce the reliance on emergency services. So I'll give you a breakdown of this managed alcohol program. So they have a goal. They're trying to reduce the alcohol-related harm, emergency department visits, and public intoxication incidences for high-risk individuals.
Wait a minute.
And they want to provide a safe space for medical supervision, social support services, and regulated access to alcohol.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. Safe supply for for Smirnoff. Okay, interesting.
It's a targeted situation here where people experiencing homelessness and chronic AUD are going to get access to it. This launched during as a COVID response program. Just loving it. And this is to incentivize people to stay in isolation and quarantine settings, but it's still going on today.
They'll be
And
isolated, all right. Yeah, go ahead, keep going.
the program, it's evolving from its pandemic roots into a long-term initiative with plans to expand to 20 beds with a focus on servicing the Latinx and indigenous communities.
Oh, fuck.
Vodka and beer. I can't say enough about this.
What are we gonna
Great
even
story.
talk? You wanted to talk about this. What is there to talk about? There's no
It's just
like. Is what? How can we add any color to this story? Like, what is there to say? We got
there's
guys on
nothing.
the street who are like clearly addicted to drugs and booze. What are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna give them some. Like, what are we talking about here?
I just love it. It's acceleration.
The mind of an addict is not. It's not. It doesn't like the wires are not connected the same way like your mind and my mind work. When you talk to an addict about the addiction, it's beyond their control, you know, like it's an illness truly. And I sympathize with that crowd quite a bit because I've seen it firsthand through Wayside. Like I'm thankful for all the experiences I've had with them over the years because like I never was exposed to this when I was a kid, right? I don't have any like alcoholic friends or people I can look to see like what addiction looks like firsthand. I rely on Wayside to give me that experience, and it's an unpleasant one, but it's one that's beyond the control of these people. On the same, the other side of that coin is that when someone checks into a rehabilitation facility or an agency like Wayside that's like abstinence based, like they know it's going to be hard. You can treat alcohol withdrawals, which is basically what these guys are trying to treat, by the way. You can treat alcohol withdrawals with certain medications, right? Anxiety medications, heart medications, things like that. Because withdrawals, at the end of the day, everyone who's had too many beers on a Friday or a Saturday has had the Sunday scaries. The Sunday scaries, that anxious feeling you get is in part driven by alcohol withdrawal. It's very minor, very short-lived, and doesn't have the depth, obviously, that someone who's addicted to alcohol would experience after years of binge drinking. But the same way you can't fight that feeling, these guys can't fight it either. And giving them more booze to solve the problem doesn't fix anything. It's just so stupid. It's stupid policy that stupid people think is smart, but it doesn't actually help anybody. And there's lots of evidence for this. Like harm reduction is popular here in Canada against all the data. Showing that harm reduction is, on the whole, sort of a net negative, certainly safe supply in the same way that these guys are giving away beer. If you're giving away heroin or whatever, fentanyl, the harm reduction is temporary if present at all. And, like this is an easy one, Len. I don't know why they would go through with something like this unless, like I said, you're just trying to make stupid people happy. It just seems to me like we're doing this way too often everywhere. California, obviously, especially easy to talk about because they just fucking love doing this kind of dumb shit in that jurisdiction. But, there's other places too that are doing the same kind of dumb shit.
You hear stories like this, though, doesn't it make you think we're so close to the end?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course I do. Of course I think we're close to the end. Man, I'm telling you, Len, like we joke about like the CBDC timeline. I think that's coming ASAP. I think there's going to be a real push to get everyone off of self-custody Bitcoin. I think there's going to be a real push to make sure that people can't leave the country with their capital. There's going to be a war. There's people on Twitter who I believe are like credible, relatively smart people talking about the next false flag being something to do with alien invasion or alien presence, in the sort of near universe. None of this stuff is off the table. Anyone who thinks that there's a non-0% chance that the end of sort of societal, the end of the societal fabric that and love is not that close. Like, I don't know, man. I'd love to know what you're looking at that tells you that it's not that close, but I think a lot of us feel differently, and the evidence really is overwhelming on our side, I would say.
It's just going to happen very soon. I see this, and I'm just like, it made me laugh. It was just a true acceleration story. But
yeah,
savings. Let's talk about savings,
sure.
because I guess it's another good discussion, because there's some interesting stats with respect to savings in the United States. And it was reported that about $2.1 trillion worth of savings have been wiped out of the US economy since August 2021. So all those stimmy checks that went out, people's
Gone.
bank accounts that they were slightly inflated, there was an uptick in money sent to people's bank accounts, credit card debt that was being paid off. People were spending money, at least wisely for the most part, in some respects, at least from what I can see. All gone, as you mentioned. $70 billion a month of savings have been depleted from American savings accounts. And this has been going on for over 2 years, 70 billion a month. And credit card debt went from 330 billion to a record 1.1 trillion dollars.
Nice.
When you talk about this type of thing, what happens is when
how many Modern
floods,
Warfare skins can you buy for $1 trillion in credit card debt?
they better be damn worth it. And it must give you some sort of benefits and bonuses in the game. It just can't be just strictly just looks. Anyways, this money all flows uphill, right? Like when money enters into the market, it temporarily may enter into people's bank accounts, but they have to spend it, right?
Yeah.
They have to pay for food. They got to pay for transportation. They got to pay for housing, all that. So it's spent, but it will end up eventually in people's bank accounts or corporations' bank accounts that they're already well off because they're the ones providing the goods. They're the ones providing the services. And they're the ones that they don't need to spend the same way that other people need to spend. They'll just hoard all this money. So as more money comes flooding in, just the people that have, they're going to have even more. The people that don't, they're going to have even less by comparison. And it just goes to show you that this whole thing is, it's just, like I say, it's going to blow up very soon. I don't know when, but we're talking trillions here. That's a fucking huge number. And I don't know what else to say. It's mind-blowing that people aren't fucking just calling these people out and saying we did fucking something wrong, but nobody's saying much. They just
great point by you though on the trickle up economics of stimulus and savings and whatnot, right? Savings are meant to be spent on large items, and so you benefit the asset holder from whom you purchase the item, the car dealer, the apartment building, whatever, right? That's why when people talk about COVID being like the largest wealth transfer, there's some discussion about, the sort of broad strokes mechanisms. They closed all mom and pop shops, had to get rid of those stores, and you were able to shop at a Walmart and go get a McDonald's burger, but you couldn't go to the gym, couldn't support a local business, whatever, right? That's one piece. But the piece that you're talking about is the bigger one. It's the one that's less discussed, especially in traditional media. Every dollar that was given to you by the government, you're paying for twice in the inflationary measure that comes from that, and by losing it to a corporation and giving them more power, more pricing power over you, more dominance over you. Insane, man. And like, I think the biggest problem, and we talk about this sometimes on the show, you and I, we talk about it offline too, in some of our group chats and when we're just shooting shit. But like, the problem is a lot of people haven't realized how bad it is yet. And when everyone figures it out around the same time, which our species seems really good at doing, that's when you get real problems, right? When you reach a critical mass of people who are unhappy with the situation and don't see any way out, you get, what is the famous line? Rational people doing irrational things. And when you get to that point, you have a problem. And, again, I don't know how close we are. I think we both agree that we're closer than a lot of people realize. And if you look at policies around, the way that people share information online, not just here in Canada, but all over the world, it seems to me like we're not the only ones who think that having everyone looking at the same hive mind and noticing that everyone is in the same boat is a bad idea. It seems to me like there's a lot of people who understand it's a bad idea. And I think the clamps are going to come down on that too, for exactly that reason.
Did you take a look at the Bank of Canada's financial stability report?
Yeah, it looked like a guy on a Bosu ball on a pogo stick. That's about how stable we're looking these days.
So it came out last week. It's their stability report for 2024. And some key points. I'm reading it straight from the report. I'm not sugarcoating it. This is not my commentary.
You can read it. I'll put a link to the report in the chat.
So they say Canada's financial system remains resilient. And they say over the past year, financial system participants, including household, businesses, banks, and non-bank financial institutions, have continued to proactively adjust to higher interest rates. But they do say that the rates of arrears on credit cards and auto loans for households without a mortgage.
Yep.
So these are people that don't have a mortgage.
No other major expense. Yep.
So the rates of arrears for credit cards and auto loans, it's back to pre-pandemic levels and continues to grow. And this is for people that are renters, and outright homeowners. So people that even own a home outright that doesn't have a mortgage is part of this list. They say that about half of the outstanding mortgages are held by borrowers who have yet to face higher rates because they locked in for a long enough period of time. And so they're going to be coming up, and they're going to be paying significantly higher mortgage rates once they renew their mortgage.
There's a chart in the report for people who haven't seen it. Go look at the chart with the bar chart there for the renewals. It's fucking wild. Sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
No problem. So this is all to say that the people that do have mortgages that are going to renew, they're going to be spending a larger portion of their income on their mortgage, and that means less money they could spend on anything else, be it vacation, movies, car payments, new car, anything. It has to go towards the mortgage because you have to pay that unless you want to sell. So they also say that business insolvencies have increased steadily since early 2022 and more sharply since the middle of 2023. If you look at that chart, its number go up. That's business insolvencies. So there's lots of things in this report. They're saying it outright. They may say that the financial system remains resilient. They provide a lot of context that things are really not looking all that great. Read the report, check it out. They have great charts. You can even there's a lot of eye candy on there.
Yeah.
But the common theme is things are not looking all that great.
BOC did a good job on this. I think this is good for two reasons. One, like you said, there's a lot of visuals here, but I'll be honest, I didn't read the whole thing word for word, but it's written in layman's terms by and large. So if let's say the only exposure you have to some of this stuff is you listen to our show, you will know what a lot of these terms mean. When we talk about stuff like insolvency, for example, or stuff about credit card debt, or stuff about variable rate fixed payment mortgages, variable rate variable payment mortgages, stuff we've talked about over the years. It's all here, and it's clearly this is another thing I think is interesting about this report. This is geared toward Gen Pop, don't you think?
Anybody with half a mind can digest this.
Yeah. When did they start doing data reporting and analysis for the general population?
I'm not sure if this is geared towards those people. I don't recall the last year how it was written.
It's not geared toward bank economists or people at that level. It's much lower than that.
But is this common amongst this type of report? They do other reports, but I'm wondering, I would like to compare this to previous years to see if this has been dumbed down. And if that is the case, there's a hidden message behind it.
Yeah, some good comments here. Households and businesses should also continue to be proactive, planning for higher payments when mortgages and other debt renew at higher interest rates. To give you an idea how bad things are, 34% of mortgages at the moment, actually, I guess we'll move on to this here. 30% of mortgages right now are variable rate mortgages with fixed payments. Once the renewals hit, about 62% of mortgages will be on that. Will be renewing, coming out of that standard of mortgage. So people who have had the same mortgage have been paying interest only, negative AM as it's called usually, extend and pretend. They'll have to get aligned with the current state of affairs as far as the interest rates compared to their mortgage. And also then I don't remember what the outcome was, but remember Freeland was talking a little while ago about how she didn't want banks to clamp down on renewals when it came to getting loan to value in line again, because most people put money down. And so your loan to value of the house has to be, whatever it is, 20% or 80 or whatever the number is your bank that you agreed upon. But as people were having the loan grow, they got out of whack. So not only did you have to add to your monthly payment when the mortgage renewed, but you also had to pay a lump sum to get back on side with the bank. And so I don't know if whatever came from that, but if that happens too, like how are these people, how are you going to pay? No one I know has $20,000 sitting around,
They'll just tack it on for another year or two on their amortization rate.
Whatever. But it's bad. Like it's a bad situation. And the bank, for all the good in this report, I think they're selling it short. the situation, right? You can't tell me on one side that, you know, the bank is sounding the alarm about emergency and GDP per capita and things are headed the wrong direction. You know, the unsustainability of housing prices, whatnot, all that stuff from Carolyn Rogers about a month ago or 6 weeks ago. And now they release this report and say that the economy is strong. I don't fucking buy it. Nobody should buy it. And again, the
She
reason
has to
this
say
is
that, right?
she says she was the one who was painting the bleaker picture. She wasn't like that in the presser last week. And also this, to me, the reason this is geared to answer my own question from earlier, the reason this is geared to the layperson is because the layperson saw that story about Rogers, and now the layperson is hopefully going to see this and say, oh, maybe things aren't as bad as they should be, or as they say they are. But I think anyone who's, you know, renewing, like, damn, if you bought a house for $1 million, you know, in peak COVID prices, and now you're going to go from, you know, let's say your payment was $2,000 at 1%, you know, you're probably going to go to 6% now if you stay variable.
Look at the PMan van. He says, I got ass kicked last year from 2.2 to
7.25.
That's insane.
That'll add what? I don't know.
I can't even contemplate, depending on how much.
Well, on $2,000,
on
$2,000, that'll probably add, I don't know, P-Man, you tell me. You got to be close to 4,000 probably, right? You almost do a double. Yeah.
Right. And so that 2,000-ish a month that would normally be spent on anything else is not being spent on anything else.
Exactly. The economy shrinks. Yeah, the economy shrinks. And yeah, you know, one thing leads to another. Good times being had up here in Canada.
I gotta ask you, the Bank of Canada, like just in the past, their performance in the past, say, 6 months.
Dog shit.
You think so? I'm looking at this.
Like, Rich Diaz, go listen to the episode we did, because he talked about this a lot with Tiff Macklem and the stuff that Macklem has done or has not done. I think Rich would say that Macklem had a come to Jesus moment in the last year about rates. And even though the pressure is mounted, he knows how badly he fucked up the first 2 years of the pandemic. And he has no choice but to keep them high, no matter how much the pressure mounts, political, social, or otherwise. And he's going to wait until the last possible moment to cut.
Yeah.
And when he does, that will be a mistake too. He will cut too late. The pain will already be in the pipeline. So, you know, the performance of the Bank of Canada hasn't been great, but I think the thing you would say if you were an apologist for BOC would be, look, what are we supposed to do? We're playing next to the biggest kid in the sandbox. It's hard for us to build a castle if, you know, this guy is just stampeding all over the place. That's the downside of living next to the USA. Biggest market in the world, you know, strongest capital market. But man, you know, how do you set policy, right? That's the problem. You're always kind of playing catch up and thinking about how people are viewing your capital market versus their capital market. We already have so many roadblocks in place that are becoming more and more apparent. If you add rates to that, you know, like, who's coming here? Nobody.
I'm just shocked that the Canadian dollar is maintaining its value. It's holding it around
for now.
Like
for now.
For like, I suspect.
But when the cut comes, you know, like, that's when it's over.
But if they all cut at the same time, if it's all done, you know, even Steven, so to speak, then it's still going to maintain. It's just the one thing the dollar milkshake theory is going to take into effect. So eventually it's going to impact the Canadian dollar just because of the, you know, people have the relative perception of strength of the United States dollar. But last story, I'm just going to touch on it really, really briefly. We don't have much time, but I just want to say it. CP24 article says that one way to decrease temporary residence is to make them permanent. This
oh my God, Len.
Suggestion. Says that 1 week Canada plans to shrink the number of temporary residents is to offer them the opportunity to remain permanently. And this is what Immigration Minister Mark Miller said. But he also says it doesn't mean that everybody who wants to stay will be able to. So it looks like they're going to be selectively choosing who it is they want to keep in Canada on a permanent basis. And this is all, you know, if you look at the housing situation and other services, they were impacted with the increase in temporary residents in Canada. Miller says, in fact, the people already here, their impact on affordability has already been baked in. So it's smart to convert them over to permanent residents rather than keep them as temporary. So Yeah, he does say that. It doesn't mean by extension everybody entitled to stay here will be staying here in Canada. And also, Miller said that they have announced plans to scale back the number of international students by putting a 2-year cap on new admissions. This was back in January. So yeah, so there's a lot of moving parts here, interesting things. Conestoga is probably going to be impacted negatively as a result of all this, but hey, yeah, interesting stuff. I don't have anything to say about it.
Oh, good show tonight. That's where we'll wrap it up, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
Thanks for coming. Yeah, thanks for coming. I'll see some of you guys on Thursday or Friday.
Well, no, I CP24 article. I thought it was an interesting article to read.
The quote was nothing more permanent than a temporary program. It's actually nothing more permanent than a temporary resident. I fucking got that quote wrong for all these years, I guess.
Because it's an ever-evolving quote too.
Yeah, lots of blue sky above that. Anyway, good night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
And don't be a